Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Hello, my dear peeps, and welcome in. Tonight we have got a wham doozy for you. There's so much to talk about. First, I would like to introduce my dear friend, Bryan Bowden. Welcome in, Bryan.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Just was sharing it on my Facebook.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for everybody to share it out. Now, Bryan has got one of these things. The first time I ever had Mr. Sir Bowden on my show, I spent 45 minutes talking about his credits and the things he has done. And then the show was ended. So, trust me I tell you, this man has done it all. I mean, if you want to roll him off real quick, Bryan, as far as you are in it, you've got your hands in everything from UFOs to Dogmen to Bigfoot to the whole thing.
I'll just give you on the paranormal side. So,
sure.
Well, I studied science for a bit, but then I went to business. That's separate. But I've always had that science side to me. I've studied astronomy, physics, thought about becoming a physicist or an astronomer or astrophysicist. And then, I went into business. That's where money is. We got to make money. So, but I've always been interested in the paranormal, no matter what it is. And my ability to meet with like-minded people, I met a buddy of mine named Al Santoriga, and he initially started the Bronxville Paranormal Society, which was for all paranormal-based stuff, primarily ghosts, helping people out, investigating that. But I'm not only interested in that, I do all these different cryptids too. So I'm studying, research. Bigfoot, Dogman, Mothman, Goatman, Lizardman, Owlman, and also like a lot of these, there's a lot of folklore as well, and prophecy in Native American or indigenous versus angelic or metaphysical. So I do almost everything. I'm boots on the ground. I'm not one of these guys that sits in the armchair and just follows videos and, I know what's wrong. I'm out there. Right. Sometimes to my detriment.
Right. Absolutely true. Yeah, and I can tell you, for the years I've known Bryan and I got together. I can't remember how I bumped into you, man, from another life, maybe somewhere. But, we've always, the unpeeling of the onion, like Steve Stockton and I say all the time, it's like, you start learning about things with a friend. Not only are you interested in things that go bump in the night, but he knows about the Bigfoot, so we talk Bigfoot, and also from my Native American background, the things expressed to me from my elders about Skinwalkers and Bigfoot and shapeshifters and things like this. So we really got to unpeel things and we're still. I've seen no middle to the onion yet, because we just spent a fantastic weekend in the Hoover House in Gettysburg Bash, and in that wonderful place. So let me back up a minute and do just a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, welcome to all the chat. Andrew, hello. Todd Brown was first one in tonight. Hi, love. How you doing? Chris Jarvis. We got Andrew from Gnomes Trucking Express in here. We got Salvador Soto. Hello, hun. Welcome in. I know I saw, Roseworthy. Hello, love. Ma Reed. Hello, sweetie. I love the hair, by the way, darling. Keep it going. I used to have that color. Let's see. Jackie, love you. And if I missed anybody, Fred, hi. How y'all doing? Okay, so we've got a good amount of my darling chat in here, so I'd love to say, we got 1,000! We got 1,000 people! took so long. But
That's
you know
awesome.
what's cool? It didn't happen overnight, but you know what? It happened organically. The people that came in and subbed because they wanted to. And it seemed longer because I've actually been on YouTube for like 5-6 years and going back and forth with networks. We've all been there, right, Bri?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, when the network shuts down, you shut down. So, hello, Grandpa C. I love you, darling. Mwah. Big hugs. And so that's what happened. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do it by myself. I'm just going to do it me. And I just uploaded 100 different episodes and loaded them up there. And then I just started doing this. Then my sound went, and then Mr. Bowden drove all the way from New York City to come into my house with no air conditioning and fixed my sound system. And that's why we're able to do this show. So thank you.
Yep,
my love.
I fixed
Thank
that,
you so
and
much.
I told you, forget the other stuff. Get on this, and you did.
Just do this.
Just do
I
this.
listened.
The only thing you need to do now is you got to go in the settings and initiate your super chat, so we can send you some, super chat money.
Oh, shoot. That would be sweet, but, I mean, it does cost to do this. I mean, I think it's all totaled probably somewhere around $75 a month, maybe a little more,
Right.
But it's the time. It's the time because, and I love it because it gives you something to do. I know, right, Jackie? What is that, 101K? I mean, I can't even believe it. It's just growing like crazy now. But that's good because I think people want to, escape the everyday and at least for a little while, and talk about the miraculous things that are happening around us too, because there's a lot miracles every day, whether it's signals from your loved ones or something else, and we tend to forget that there's so much light out there as well. And this show's going to keep the light on for all of you, just like Motel 6 up in here. So we got that light on. So that's that, and thank you all kindly for sharing, for hitting a like, for showing up in the chat. I sincerely love you all. Thank you for the congratulations. It's all of you. It's all of you. I wouldn't be here without you. I mean, well, I would be here, but I'd be talking to my cat, and he listens, and he's my life coach, and he's the best life coach I ever had. So yesterday he told me to stay home from work and eat chocolate. I should have listened. So anyway, Patriot174, hello. So tonight, this is it. This is multi-leveled show tonight. What you guys don't know is because Halloween is coming, and I wanted to do something for that escape for people and find out how could we get together instead of just doing a show, maybe experience something together, not just a show, but like a watch party. So we're doing the book, Bri. I'm doing A Strange Case of Cabin 22. And this is where Bryan comes in. Now, for those of you, some of you have listened to the series, the Cabin 22 series, and loved it, and I appreciate that so much. But you have to realize that in the beginning of that, I say a lot more of these things happened in this book than you'll care to believe are true. And Bryan is here tonight to attest to quite a few of those, because he was my go-to guy. This is the man I call at weird times of the day and night, his poor wife, I love you so much, and say, Bri, if a Bigfoot and a Rugaroo had a fight, who would win? Did I not make that phone call? We talked for 2 hours.
You made that. You made the phone call. I think you mentioned Rugaroo, and I gave you the answer to that, and that's actually happened. There are numerous reports of Rugaroo being. I'm gonna say Dogman.
Okay.
Because a lichen,
it's easier to understand.
Yeah, a lichen or a werewolf. Because we got to get into different subjects. There's the Dogman, which is Dogman. There's a Rugaroo, and then now they're adding another component to it, which is on the native side. So, but Bigfoot has had many a battle, Sasquatch, with Dogmen. Usually, if you have true. Yeah, if you have a Bigfoot in the area, you have a Dogman in the area. 99.9% of the time.
Correct, and that's what. And I've found this out. And I met some people during the bash that were actually pinpointing, where a UFO sighting was, where a Bigfoot sighting was, where a Dogman sighting was, and they were all connected. So it's so crazy. Hi, Pseudonym, one of my great mods, all of my great mods. We have the best mods in here.
That's awesome.
Also, let me remind you this before we really get deep into this, because once we get going, it's going to be hard to tap the brakes. If we get one of those creeper troll, again, You don't have to say anything to them. Don't encounter them. You don't need my permission. Get rid of them. Rebuke it. Just rebuke it, because Bryan won't get knocked off his chair like Jim did that night when the explicit great big things, and everything. Just get rid of. But see, what the trolls don't understand is I have Black Ops mods. These guys have been training for years, and they're all here, and they got me. Like Sue says, we got you, Mama. Thank you, darling. So I don't even have to worry. I was just watching them, just like it was like a Gatling gun. It was fantastic. So there's that.
It's always good to have.
Bry is the one that I call to get all of the little things in the book. And we'll talk about a couple of those things coming up about the book further on. But as you guys know, I love you so much. And you have no idea how long it takes to do these tiny little videos, because you have to go and look for pictures. And then you want to get a picture that was an actual account of, like, say, maybe... what do they call those, Bry, where you're in the police station and they do the sketch of what you saw?
Yes. Well, I guess it's there's a term for it.
Sketch artist. Yeah, sketch artist. That's what I'm looking for. So I was looking for a couple of those that had, like, this is what I saw. I don't just put anything up there. Hey, Jose, and how you doing, sweetie? So I put together this little video, and Bryan also gave me some great stuff. We're going to see his video in a little bit. It's just a little, like, 1 or 2 minute. It's got a couple of pictures about what we're talking about tonight. Now,
right.
Like Bry says, there's multiple categories. It's kind of sort of like ghosts. I mean, everybody wants to stick everything in a category. But when you're talking about a creature... whether you want to say it's a creature from here, an extra dimensional, coming in and out, spiritual, more metaphysical, there's all these different levels. But if we just back up a minute and look at the whole thing, how incredible is it that these things are still walking around and able to keep their invisibility almost. It's coming out more and more, and people are seeing them more and more. But if you think about it, man, that's incredible. And that's another reason we talked about it in the book the way we did. How did the Rugarous get to Alabama, with changes in weather and, something big like a hurricane, like Katrina. That moved all kinds of animals out, right? So they are getting dispersed and moving around. Are you seeing that more, Bry? Are you seeing it more where they're showing up where they didn't used to?
Not as much. I mean, it does happen. You're hearing about different reports in areas with the massive fires.
Okay.
And that's kind of like kicking people, these creatures to different areas because they got to retreat.
Right.
So I've yet to see them. Anything recently as far as that's concerned, but I know it does happen. It also happens when, and depending on the creature, when they are literally hunting. It's not necessarily, there's a debate whether these things actually migrate to new areas, follow migration, or do they rotate? Because if you think about this on a let's like put
raccoons.
It on a normal scale.
Raccoons actually rotate.
Right. But with wolves, they have 150-mile radius for hunting. So that could be in the northern portion, that could be northeastern. But what they may do is they may start rotating because they're pushing the animals that are under the gun into different areas. So they're going to have to go and travel to a different area. But yeah, there's a lot of reports. There's pretty good standard areas where you're getting reports along the Appalachian Trail. Any one of those states, you're going to get reports of these cryptid creatures. Right. And in Pennsylvania, it's like Dogman Central.
Yeah.
But that could also be because Pennsylvania has a ton of underground cave systems. And so does it as you get down to the Kentucky area. There's one of the largest caves I think in the world is in Kentucky, if I'm
right.
correct.
Right. And I've heard from Alabama all the way up in some cases. And Sue here is saying too that sometimes they show up before a catastrophic event as well, like Todd Brown's saying here, like the Mothman almost. I mean, I really think nature, that's something that's been very ingrained into me on the Native American side, especially. I believe, Brian, you and I have talked about this, is my grandmothers, I think, were really regretting not being able to express who they were out in public, and they had to hide because, in their times, my grandmother was born in 1890, so her mom goes back even more. So if you know what was going on in, the East Coast at that time, it wasn't too popular to be a Native American. So I think towards the end, they were really trying to, they picked me and expressed all these things, like, be careful where you go in the woods. If you ever feel this, backtrack, respect for nature, watch nature, things like that. So, all of that kind of stuff. So what do you think, chat? Do you want to take a little look here? And we're going to let Brian comment throughout. He has not seen this video.
No,
and
I have not.
Some of these pictures are just, like I said, the artist's rendition of what the person saw. Or there's a couple of little videos in here that just made my skin crawl, as far as like cam, what do you call those? The ones in the woods?
Trail cams.
Trail cams and stuff like that they caught. So I'd love to get your thoughts on it, and I think we can watch it together. Let's see. Here we go.
Awesome.
All right, now this was okay, and there's your Nibiru.
Yep.
Look at the footprint.
I was going to send you that one too.
No.
This has happened.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at that face. Look at the face. Look at the teeth.
That's more of a baboon-esque. There's another one that's...
I kept this one because it's the eyes. And people keep expressing the eyes.
The eyes are almost... Let me tell you something. When you connect with these things on the eye level, it's a lot of reports from people that have had that encounter. This one's pretty interesting. It's one of the better ones.
I almost thought the hair looked too clean. I mean, I don't know. The ears are getting me, though. This is the creepiest thing. Look at
what's
this,
interesting is, when you look at this, if you look at its hind leg, it's a human-esque leg. He or she is doing that while on knees or on their haunch.
Right. Now
it's really bizarre.
You've got to look kind of towards the middle. You'll see the movement. This is a trail cam, and the picture's not great. But keep watching. Look at that face. Look at the face. Yeah.
And that's not a bear with mange or anything like that.
No, the ears are different. Here, he's going to come back in a second. I almost feel sorry for the thing.
I don't.
No. He's going to come up here and again in just a second.
Yep.
At the face, the way he's looking, just so creepy.
Well, they want food right now. So.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I mean, how? Takes him a second, but he's going to come back. It's worth the wait there. I know, Chad. It's terrible. See, here he comes again. Oh, that face. See how the ears are real pointy? You can see them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
It is, well, yeah.
Oh.
That is
and
not
there's
something
the
you want to meet. Yeah, or that.
There you go. There you go. Wow.
Well,
wow.
You know,
all right, thoughts.
It's very interesting.
Oh, hell no, Laura. Hell no,
Lauren
Laura Stevens. Hey, oh, hell no, she says.
Oh,
I
hell
feel
no.
you.
Yeah, it's, yeah. I've had a couple of good encounters, no more than 20 feet from me. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was very surprised in the initial encounter, that one that our buddy Steve Stockton gets a ton of press from.
Go ahead. Do you
want to do the long story or the short story?
Give us the whole thing.
Make it a little bit easier.
Go ahead, do whatever you feel, because I'm telling you, this happened, and this is why it's in the book, and I got permission to put it in the book. I changed it a titch, but not much. Yeah. Here you go.
So we were doing an investigation of a place called Letchworth Cemetery. Now, Letchworth Village is in New York. It's a 28 to 29,000 acre facility that housed unwanted and undesirables in life. Non-aborted babies, disfigurements, mental capacity issue people, illegitimate children, what have you. And what happened at the cemetery is they would test a lot of these. I think one of them, the polio or one of these vaccinations, was tested on these children there. And the way they got a candidate is if you didn't die, it was a candidate. So that being the case, they had a lot of bodies. And they had a cemetery a couple of miles away. 28,000 acres is pretty big. Yeah. And with unmarked graves in it. Anything from literally a day old all the way up to 100 years old was in the cemetery. We were doing an investigation of this, and we went in, and when you get to this place, it's in the back roads. There's a couple of houses near there, but no one else. If you don't live there, you shouldn't be there. So my buddy and I, we pull up in his car, we park along this road, and we start walking in. And we walk in, and as you walk in about a quarter of a mile down this trail, you can see on the left-hand side the power cutout for power high tension lines. And we're taking that in, and we're walking in, and I'm in paranormal mode. I'm not in Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or anything. I'm in ghosts, EVPs, that type of stuff. So we walk in, and as you walk in, someone actually put up a big placard. They poured a piece of cement that was at least 4 feet high and probably 6 feet wide. And on the placard is as many names of the departed that are there. They were able to kind of catalog and put some names to it. So we set up our camp behind this thing because if anything came in from behind us, we'd have some cover in the back, right? And in front of us is this huge mound of dirt, but there are all these little markers in there, and this is all bodies. There's hundreds of bodies in there, and we just start going about our looking and surveying the area, doing our general reading for all the devices. We want to zero out, say it's daytime. Let's see what the electromagnetic frequency is in the area, even with the tension wires and so on and so forth. And as we're getting our stuff ready, we're sitting there trying to figure out which angle we're going to take. We hear something coming in, like a quad, roll, whatever, and it's flying in. And there's these two kids on the quad, and they come in and they're looking and they're talking to somebody on a walkie-talkie, and they go past us, and they go over this other hill, I guess, because they must go off-roading there. Down the line, you can see where they cut across the area where the power lines are to the other side, and looks like they've been playing around there. And like we're looking for them. So I said, look, let's go tell them, maybe there's a reason, whatever. We'll tell them why we're here. So we stop them. They're like, what are you doing here? And we say, oh, we're paranormal investigators. We're here to investigate the Letchworth Cemetery. And they repeat what I said. They're paranormal investigators. They're here for Letchworth Cemetery. We're out of here. That's what they say. They take off. The whole thing maybe took 2.5 minutes max. They were on a mission. They got in and they got out. And we both remarked how weird that was. So cool, right. No problem. We're professionals. We set up our stuff, we start going, and we start doing our own investigation. We're walking around the cemetery, and around the cemetery, again, there are homes, and you can hear a couple of dogs barking, and something that sounded pretty big. But other than that, I wasn't paying attention to it. But my buddy Al was being drawn to that. He says, that's a weird sounding dog, big dog. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm still, again, in paranormal mode. So we start walking around, and we're looking. We go to the other side, and we see, when we go in there, we always are going to check not only for paranormal, but if we're in a woodsy location, we're going to look for Sasquatch stuff and any type of markers for the Dogman or what have you. And we didn't really see much. And we keep going and doing. And Al keeps getting drawn back to this one area, which is the right side. So if you're facing the cemetery, it'll be on the right-hand side. So I'm, I eventually go over to him, and he goes, I'm being drawn here. I'm like, okay, cool. And we start looking in the area, and then we start backtracking out of where the cemetery is, down the road a little bit, like we're going back to the car, and we find a side path. So there's a path within a path. So we start going down the path, and we both noticed it at the same time. We're like, oh, Lord. And we come out to a point, and we're talking about a tree structure. Now, Bigfoot tree structures are leaning trees, interwoven trees, things that if you weren't paying attention, blend right into the scenery. You would not realize that there's an X there in the trees, and it actually means something. Or there's an arrow on the ground. What this marker is somebody took a tree and literally physically pulled it out of the ground. And we're talking about a 3-foot diameter. Pulled it out with roots and all, took the tree, turned it upside down, and hung it up from other trees that were in it like this. Basically, a tree umbrella.
Okay.
Now, people are like, well, that's odd and strange. It's probably the power guys. The power guys aren't playing around with trees like that.
It's true.
Okay.
True.
But if you're in the union and you're not getting paid and you get to sit there on your butt, you're not going to be building, strange structures. You're just going to get paid to chill out, check your phone. So this is a sign of, in my opinion and from my research, of a Dogman type of sign, tree structure. They're very aggressive in their tree structures. But again, for some reason, I'm not in that mode, but my buddy Al is. And I keep going a little bit further past the structure, and he's like, whoa, stop. I feel like we're being drawn into that. We're being led into it. So Al calls me back. I said, fine. We go back. Then we go back to our study on the mound and where the dead are. Right. We get to this one point where we're not really getting any readings on our EMF meters and anything else we have. And so what we like to do is we take out Tibetan singing bowls, or we use an app, and we start ramping the energy to see what we can get, to like welcoming them. Right. And we start ramping the energy, and all of a sudden my EMF meter starts to spike, so it's going up. So we say, hey, if there's somebody here, go to 70. So it starts crawling up to 70. I'm like, okay, this is good. We've just gave it enough energy to do something. I said, can you make it go down to 40? And literally it starts going down to 40. I said, okay, there are a lot of people here. If there's a lot of people here, make his thing turn green. Turns green. Okay, great. Are there any other creatures here? Turns green.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Like, this is interesting. And while we're going through this, I look up in a tree and I see about close to 9-10 feet in the air a fresh break of a branch. Okay? Solid tree. Probably about 6 inches wide, diameter. Broken. Like fresh. Like brand new wood. Right. The whole thing. So I pointed out to Al. He looks at it. He goes, that's interesting. So then he takes it, and you hear the dogs barking in the area. You can hear them through the little cavern we're in. This whole like bowlish area on the mountain. He takes a piece of wood and he whacks the tree with it. Does a tree knock. Okay. And in an instant, it goes dead silent. Uh-oh. Dogs just, like in mid-bark, like, rup, rup. Yeah. And it just stops. Yep. So we take note of that. But I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. Why did they do that? What's going on here? And Al's in his own mode. To see what we do when we do an investigation is we do go separate. Within a distance of each other we can get to. But then we regroup. Separate, regroup. You have to do this because it's like a checkpoint. It's like you can only go so many feet before you need to get the rest of the crew up. And it keeps you in a little bit tighter formation. So as this is going on and stuff, we're getting like EVPs up to, crazy. It's getting later. It's getting darker. We said, let's go get some food. We'll come back here later. Now, we go out to eat. And where we parked on the road, we parked on the side closest to the entrance of this. Because there were a couple other cars, it seemed, a little bit further up from where we were on this main strip. The main strip meaning that's the road most people live on there would take. to get off that road, to get into town.
Okay.
Come back, and we pull up, and we decide to pull up, and there's a little, looks like one of those old light posts you've probably seen down south, where it looks like a pie pan with a little light bulb underneath it.
Oh yeah.
The cabin would have.
Right.
So we pull up next to it, and I get out, and I'm actually on the passenger side of his Jeep, and I'm standing there, and I'm on, I'm standing on something where it grades down, so it's about a 3-foot grade. Okay. Something rolled into that, and I'm like, oh, I'll go get it. And it's about 3 feet, so I'm 3 feet higher than I normally am. I'm 6'1", 6 feet 1 inches. We go back in, we put our headlamps in, we go back in, and we slowly we set up our camp there, covering our backs with that stone so nothing can go over us. And if this thing did come, it'd have to come over us, and maybe we'd have an advantage. We don't have weapons. We have a knife, machete.
Right, that's it.
And as I did this, the minute we got there, we had our blue lights on. We started hearing that quad runner again. And we said, you know what? Let's go ask them when they go in there this time. Like, if they stop us, like, can we interview you and ask questions about the area?
Okay.
So they come flying in like a bat out of hell, and they're cruising. We're looking for them. We can't find them, and we step out of the shadow there, and we stop them. And hey guys, he goes. They said, you're still here? So, yeah, we're doing a night investigation, day night. And you can see that there's this uneasiness with these kids, and it wasn't like Dad's making me take this trip. There was something like they wanted to get out of there. So we said, can we ask you some questions about it? He said, no. And they just left. So again, noting that, right? And as they left, we continue on with our investigation. And at one point, I'm hanging out with, we're together, just trying to scope out the area. And I forgot to send it to you, but I have an EVP where I heard something. And I sounded a little bit weird, like a dog. Like I said, you can hear me say, that's a big dog. And then another EVP I had, a recording I have, I asked my buddy Al, who's standing right next to me, no more than a foot away. I said, did you say something? And he goes, nope. And the next thing you hear is, like right next to us. But I didn't hear it when I was there.
Okay.
I wasn't hearing it when I was there. That was caught on tape. That's why I said it's an EVP. So we decide to hunker in, and we're figuring as the night goes on longer, we'll get more stuff because it's just quieter. All the energy's focused. We're getting energy off these power lines. So we sit back, and Al's starting to act a little bit like weird. He has a weird look on his face. And I get nervous with that because when you go into these investigations, even though we do things to protect us prior and post-investigation, we say prayers, holy oil, we use sage, the whole nine, right? Things can still happen. And Al has this funky look on his face, and when he's, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? He goes, nothing's wrong with me. I'm like, no, dude, something's wrong with you. You all right? I'm looking at him. Yeah, I'm fine. He goes to look and work on his camera that he has a brand new battery in. It's not working. Then he takes it, puts it down, and then all of a sudden it starts working. So a lot of weird things are happening, but this does happen with paranormal ghost investigations because these entities and spirits need that energy to kind of manifest stuff.
Right.
So we're kind of used to that. And at this point, I'm not hearing any howling or any of this crap going on, right? I'm still focused on the cemetery. And what now is taking place is the moon is shining through the...
Uh-oh. I'm going to finish that sentence. He's going to come back in. The moon is shining through the trees. And then there's a break. Oh, jeez. It's a good story, I'm telling you, man. Here he's coming back. Hello, everybody. It's just coming in. Don't worry about being late. It's not a problem. Hey, Brian,
I'm sorry about that. I don't know why that happens. Sometimes it does.
It's okay.
But I'll always come back in. So now I'm sitting there with him.
The moon is shining through the trees.
Moon's shining in. Your atypical full moon coming in. You can see it's lighting up some of the grass. And I shit you not, this fog or white stuff starts rolling in. And I'm like, oh, this is a freaking werewolf movie, right?
I know.
we're sitting there like, holy shit, this is just like, and it starts filtering in, kind of like in the scene of the Ten Commandments when the death comes in and kills all the firstborn. You know how that fog just rolls?
The fog rolls.
Oh my God.
I've seen this. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then the next thing that happens is, and this is my tell, I start getting goose pimples.
Right.
When I start to ramp up to like, it's going to get real or something big's going to take place, I start getting it. I'm like, okay, this is weird. It's uneasy. We're staying there, and I'm like, dude, you look weird. And he's getting weirder and weirder. The fog is engulfing us, and I'm just getting a little bit of a, something's not right here.
Right.
And for his sake, I said, maybe, it's getting cold. Maybe we should, we should go. And he's like, you know what? We've been here all day. That's a great idea. Let's just go. So we pack up our stuff, we pack up our chairs, and we start hoofing it out. And it was just the right time. I can't tell you why I know. It's just when you do these investigations, sixth sense, third eye, whatever it is, you'll know when you got to get out of there. And we start hoofing it out, and where we come out of this area where the cemetery is onto the main road, we're about a quarter of a mile up, and we see it. And as we start walking, we're talking. I'm like, how you feeling? I'm feeling better. He goes, yeah, I feel a lot better. I felt a little bit weird there. He's admitting to it. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay.
And
Which is a lot for Al. A lot for Al.
Yeah, he won't admit to a lot of this stuff. But you know when your buddy's just not right. And as we're walking, I see some eye shine, because you catch it a little bit from that light where his car is and then the light's above it, right? And I'm like, ooh, probably a deer. That's what I'm thinking, deer. Now, mind you, I have a machete going across my chest, and I have one on my side. That's all I carry.
And tell them why the machete.
Okay. So one, I don't have firearms. I live in New York City.
Right.
General, a lot of times if you take firearms, you get yourself in a lot of trouble, and you may be on federal property, and that's a mandatory year. And also, in relationship to Dogman, the werewolf cryptid, bullets are not going to stop this thing. You don't have enough in a gun or enough power. I would need some military grade stuff, to really take this thing down. Or a bunch of people with the same, hitting it at once. See, when you shoot something, like if you go moose hunting, which I do not, but I've heard from a couple of moose hunters that you can fire at a moose dead center mass, but the layers of skin are so thick that it acts like a bulletproof vest and just gets lodged there. And what it does is it pisses off the animal. But if you have an animal like that and you want to take it down really quick, you take out a machete and you can slice through those 7 layers, 15, 20 layers like butter. And they're dead. You can't recover, they're going to die from that. So it's always good to have that with you. And it also gives you a little more distance. So we're walking back to the car. Now, mind you, it was cold, and it got colder, and we were drinking, not alcohol, but water. I had a Coke or whatever it was. And I had some caffeine for the day, too much of it. And I had to go to the restroom. I had to pee.
Right.
And then there was no way. Yeah, I had to pee. Thank you, Steve. I had to pee. And I did not want to do it on the graves of these people, poor souls. I would never just. That's sacrilegious, in my opinion. So I waited. I said, I'll pee by the car. And we're walking up, and we get up there, and we see this thing, and it's sitting. I thought it was a deer, because I saw some stuff coming up from the top, like pointy stuff, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm walking, and I'm looking, I'm like, that's not a deer. It kind of looks a little bit like Marmaduke. Picture that.
Okay.
Sitting
Marmaduke.
And it's sitting, and the eyes are like, has an eye shine to it with a little bit of more amber to it. And Al goes to the back, and I go to the passenger side. I'm close to the same, about 20 feet away, no more than that. And I'm getting my stuff off, and I said, forget it, I got to pee. Now, where I'm standing, again, I'm on a 3-foot grade. I'm 6'1". That means to be 9 feet 1 inches. This thing is still, its purposes, a mannequin at the time, just sitting. And its snout is roughly about where my snout is. So this thing sitting on the ground is close to 8 to 9 feet tall. Probably 8 feet tall, 7, 8 feet. Sitting. Not standing, sitting. And Al's looking, he's getting his stuff, and he doesn't take his eye off it, and I don't take my eye off it. And I say, what the hell? And I start peeing in front of it.
There you go.
I said, well, if it's a Dogman, I'm going to pee in front of him. I'm going to tell him who the boss is. And I start urinating in this thing, and this thing is just there. And Al is screaming, get in the car, Bryan. And I'm not finished. I got to go. I've been holding that big bladder, I'm a camel.
You can't just stop.
No, you can't. Well, there's certain instances you can. I'm not peeing in his car, but so I throw my bag in the car and I keep my machetes on, right? And I take the one machete off, and now that I was remembering it a little bit more, because I was just like, it was so much more. But I put my bag in this front seat, and I put the machete in the front. I threw it on the floor, the one that going across my chest, because I could take it off after my backpack was off. And I still had the one on the right. But once I took that off, I kind of tilted over, and I saw we watched this thing go down. It just went down to the ground. Lowered itself. And all of a sudden, Al's like, by this time, Al is screaming, get in the fucking car. I'm leaving you here. You idiot, get in the car. And I'm like, I'm coming. And as soon as it went down like that, the goose pimples like popped up. I could have had a marble race on it. It was boing. And I'm like, it's time to go. Right. And I got in the car and I kept my machete on. And we closed the door. He spun out of there and took the hell off. But that's my I peed in front of Dogman encounter for Steve.
There you go.
And
there you have
not
it,
a smart
folks.
idea.
No, it's not a smart idea. But there you have it. For those who haven't read the book, I won't give it away. But for those who have listened or read the Cabin series, you have no idea how much I, went agonized over details, because I wanted it to be correct. And I wanted it to be correct from from people who have seen this thing and what it would do in nature and how, and not only from the human's point of view, but what is the Dogmen feeling? What are they seeing? You know what I mean? How are they territory? So you pissed in his territory, trying to show you're going alpha dog on him.
Yeah, yep. That's the whole thing. See, I grew up with dogs. I grew up with dog show dogs, and I went to dog shows, and I know everything about almost every breed of dog. Okay? And I can tell you straight up that what a dog does when you are an alpha, be it an alpha male or an alpha female, the female will do the same thing. They pee and they mark their spot. That's, I'm the boss here. Okay? Anything that kind of tries to mark it on top of it is an instant challenge. It's a challenge. And you're going to go head to head with this thing. Right. Okay? And you better be up to that challenge. Otherwise, you're going to either die or get your ass whooped.
Right.
So
they can smell you. I don't care how long it takes. I mean, I've observed nature, like again, from the Native American side of it, people might not realize that even if you figure like a tomcat, you ever wonder why a tomcat goes around and pees on everything? He's marking his territory for the females to smell. And they can actually smell the protein in the male cat urine and knows that when it gets pregnant, he'll be a good provider for food. So you take all these things into consideration. And she can find that cat. She can find that tomcat. So you go all through nature. It's like this. So why would Dogman be any different, right, Bryan? You know what I'm saying?
It's a natural. 100% correct. You know what? But you know what? If I had my buddy, if he was still alive, one of my good friends used to be a big time Marvel guy, artist from Marvel and DC. I would have had him do a cartoon with the thought bubble above his head, like the Dogman eventually us taking off, and the Dogman going back to the litter or the pound or whatever it was, where he went, and like this crazy guy just in front of me. I was like, what the hell is he thinking? But I did that actually partially to relieve myself, and I knew what I was doing. I literally knew that I'm marking my territory in front of this thing right now. I'm telling this thing.
It's very possible, Bryan. If you had turned and ran, it would have probably chased you at that point. You know what I mean? I mean, think about it. If 100%. You had done it different, I think it would have chased you. if you ran it, instead of peeing. I know it sounds
think
crazy,
what happened
but...
was, no, and I agree with you. First of all, you never turn and run from any type of predator. You have to back away because the minute you turn your back, you're a target. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yep.
That being stated, what I think took place was I think I confused the fuck out of this thing.
Right.
It was like no one's ever challenged it like that, except for another Dogman or whatever. Yeah, he's got my scent.
And Edna's got it.
We haven't been back yet, but he's got my scent.
You probably remember it too. I mean, it's amazing. Animal Kingdom is amazing.
100%. If I go back there, and it's still in that area, he's gonna be like, "Oh, that bastard's back." Okay,
that
let's
son
go.
of a bitch. Yep.
So I'd have to be a little bit more nervous if going back to that cemetery, but I think at one point it was confused. It's like it doesn't know what to do at this point. Like, well, no one's ever done this before. So,
hey, Slow.
And then that's why, I think what happened was at that one point when it started going down, it's like, okay, I'm gonna bring it now. Let's go. Let's see how tough he is.
Yeah.
And he was coming our direction. And had I not gotten in when I gotten in, we wouldn't be having this conversation, in my opinion. I think I would have been sliced up pretty nice, and Al would have had to explain to everybody what happened.
Yeah, because Al would have been in the car.
Yeah.
He'd have been running. But, I wonder about that story, too, because as far as, people, I've been on, investigation or in situations where one person is changing and one person is being overcome with something. And when you tell that story, I think about that with Al. Al's a great guy. And these guys have seen some shit. I mean, they've seen gnomes and, Bigfoot and ghosts and, you name it. They've seen it. They've been doing this quite a while.
Rakes,
and rakes. So to see something that close up. Now you sent me some clips, and I'm seeing a lot about in the chat. And hey, Slow Mo and everybody, and T-Rex to come in here, and Oracles Beyond. Hi, Cassie. We made it to 1,000. Yay! And everybody that's in here that I missed, I love y'all. You sent me. Like I said, I've been seeing some things about Cincinnati, and I noticed on one of the things you sent me, it said Cincinnati. Was that from Cincinnati, or what? Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, it's a vocalization of a Dogman captured near Cincinnati.
Okay.
It's. I love it because of what it is and what it instills in most people. But I think the best thing to do would be to play and let people listen. Put your headphones on.
Just
set the situation. You're in the woods, and or better than that, you're in Gettysburg, going from the supermarket to your car, and and then you see some stuff. So let's play what you sent me. And again, this one you can, we can watch and you can talk over it. There's going to be a vocalization that Bryan was just talking about. And then there's some pictures that you sent me as well that I put together in this little video. Me and my friggin' videos, right? My chat knows my videos. I'll spend all day. I figure, what can I do to do something for the chat? I can at least put together a little video, pictures and stuff. And it seems to help because at least we're all on the... we have the same visuals and stuff. So I do this for my chat because I love them. Here we go. That's what you hear. And
that's what you hear.
Let me tell you, that'll, if you hear that in the woods, you're going to wet yourself.
Right. Yeah. And it's different. It's different than a Bigfoot, that's for sure. Okay, here comes the pictures.
Yeah.
All right, there's some of the pictures you sent me.
Yeah, that is actually a Dogman. And we didn't it's our pictures, but someone else was able to capture it. We've seen them too long. And that was about 20 feet from us on an investigation at a lake.
Watching
us. Now, what was interesting is this next one is also caught. That is a bipedal Sasquatch cryptid that bluff charged us, threw a rock at us, and these right here are, you got to zoom in a little bit. They're on, but
yeah, they're kind of hard.
You will see the pups on the left hand side.
I see them there. I see them.
You'll see growling. we did this investigation where those night photos were, and we had a Bigfoot encounter, we had a UFO encounter, we had missing time, we had, like you said, gnomes, guardians of the forest, and when we came back, that's something different right there.
These two. Yeah. I had to put those on there because those were pictures that other people took. But if you look at that one, Bri, right about here. Let me see if I can get it to do this. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm still learning this, guys.
Go back to that one. Can you go back to that one a little bit?
Which one?
Pause it at the. That one right there.
Okay.
That thing on the left, right to the left of where the dot is, the yellow dot is.
Okay.
That's not a small thing. That makes everything that's in that den look tiny.
Okay.
That is a massive creature. No, that's the Sasquatch.
Okay, here comes.
Yeah, you're going to see it in a second.
And I'll see if I can pause it.
That thing, look at the eye on that thing, how big that is. It looks like a goblin. It is hideous. It is ginormous. Here. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see it. Right here.
And that's a mouth right there in the area. And then right next to it, there's a pup underneath near it.
And
then,
look. Oh, wow.
That's a pup.
Oh, my goodness. And that's a mom with pups.
And then
you don't want to be near that.
Yeah. Well, there was about 4 or 5 that I could see in there. We came back to this area. This is a den we found. This was videotaped by the guy that was with us that night. You can see them in that. Yeah. In that photo,
like a little den.
Zoom in, it's a den. And we call this the Dogman's den because the grotesqueness of one of the creatures lends itself to the Dogman itself. They are not pretty creatures. That's a great shot. I forgot where that was. Not mine, by the way.
This one's not awesome. Brian's, but I had to add it because I forgot to add it to the other video. But look at the size.
Yes.
Look at the size and compared to the barn. Now this is exactly what the size Brian was talking about. That and then there's this one that looks like it's almost rushing a car right here. It's almost like in Gallup
looking
almost.
Looking into the window.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so when we came back, we were drawn to come back. We had to come back to this area. And we went through this whole process of, we trekked, went back to the location where we had our experiences. And we said, this is where I changed my opinion of Bigfoot being a flesh and blood, like part of the ape family, to its own species that has an innate ability to travel interdimensionally as well as physically. So when it's here in a physical form, it's physical. When it travels interdimensionally, you can do that. Because where we had our experience, there was 3 of us only, no place to get out, can't run. It went from point A, it did whoop, whoop, and then the third whoop was 2 miles down the road at the other end of the lake. And the only way you could do that is because you couldn't run down that, it was all a goat trail. There's no way you would have heard it. We never heard anything. Is if you opened a portal up, stepped in it to come out at the other end of that down there. And I was the one. Everybody's like, maybe it's people. Maybe it's what I said. No, dude. Those whoops were. It's recon. It was talking to the thing, the other part of its plan on the other side of the river. It said, whoop, whoop, whoop. There's 3 of them. Take the long way home. Don't go this way. Okay.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah. Makes sense. But listen, they do that. And you and I have had many a discussion on how Bigfoot talk back and forth, and we're on the same, of the same ilk when we talk about extra dimensionals. I personally believe, and I've said this multiple times on my show, until I hear something different that changes my mind, I believe that Bigfoot, either there's 2 types, like a stronger, bigger, more protective one, as I expressed in the book, and then another one that kind of stays here a little bit more, but still has the ability, whether to go through portals, whether to go through, just dimensions, if there's a veil or a shift or something. I believe what my grandmother told me was, and she called it a Sasquatch, a squatchy. That's what she called it, a squatchy. But she said that, I think she said it that way to me because it wasn't as scary. It sounded, but she also, she would tell me that they're half here and half in the spirit world. And that's when she reached down and she grabbed me by the elbows and looked at my face and said, and I don't want them to take you with them.
Well, it's funny. It's a good thing she said that to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they like to take women with them. They like to take females with them. Mm-hmm. Now, I believe there are at least 6, if not more, different types of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and they're all a little bit of different, similar in that ape type of feel, humanoid ape, or creature, but physically different. There are some that look, actually, if you the Mongolian areas and stuff, you'll see things that their face looks a little bit more Asian-esque. Some of them look more have more African or features to it. Some of them have more Indian features to it. I believe there's multiple ones. Now, what's very interesting about your grandmother saying they're in, half out, that's been the law for a long time. Mm-hmm. And
that's how I think, man.
Yeah, you know what? Here's what I think takes place. They have the ability, and I can't explain it. See, everything we talk about with these cryptids, unless you have one physically, is a hypothesis, an idea and a concept. No one's right and no one's wrong, right? So I used to think anybody talking like mind speak and telepathic type of stuff, I'm like, okay, great. I believe you believe it, but I think you need some help. Maybe you have something wrong. It wasn't until that went from point A to point B, again, 2 miles in an instant, that it changed. It's possible. And I think down the line, quantum mechanics and physics will explain all of this to us. But I don't have time to go into a quantum mechanics or physics lesson. But what I do believe is they come here and they actually are physical. And they do have clans or pods, if you'd like to do it. And what happens is their ideas, they mate, and then as they get to a certain age, they drop them off and you need to find your wife or your mate. And and then they continue on a different area of their hunting area. And then they pick it up and the cycle starts. Now, what's very interesting about, and this is also for Dogmen, mind you, I believe Dogmen can go from the physical into the interdimensional. And I can't explain it other than, how can you explain how you breathe? Yeah. When you're born, you're breathing liquid. You're just doing something. It's innate within you. I can't explain it. They can't explain it. But I believe they have the ability, because I've seen it, to throw up infrasound, which will affect visual wavelengths. And it's funny, Al points to a report out of Berkeley. A doctor was able to affect visual wavelength with infrasound, different sound waves. And I know that they do this. They give you fear. They give that, you kind of like people have heard, even from Dogman on the Dogman side, you need to go. They'll just hear a voice saying, you need to get out of here.
You need to get out of here. I totally believe the whole telepathic thing because I've seen it. I've been there. I've never had it, though. I've been in the woods. I've told this multiple times, where walking on Montesano Mountain in Alabama, where I kind of placed the book, which is another reason I picked that mountain because there's so much stuff that goes on there. But anyway, I'm walking down a trail, and all of a sudden my kids are right in front of me. And this is before I knew about David Pilates missing 411 and stuff too. Where the missing people in the forest that I didn't even hear about. This is, 25 years ago. And we're walking, and all of a sudden the forest gets quiet, and it get that void, and everything just crickets, birds, everything. Doom. And I was warned about that as a Native American, the little things they were able to tell me real quick, get out. And I grabbed the kids and I'm like, stop. And I wait and I'm looking around and I'm trying to, and that's something else I was taught, camouflage. If they don't want you to see them, you're not going to see them. So whatever this was, and I'm feeling, get out. Not really in those words, but back up, go back the way you came. And I grabbed the kids, and my husband's complaining the whole time, and I'm like, listen, you son of a bitch. If you want to stay here by yourself, you're on your own, but I'm taking the boys out of here.
Right.
And, oh, Mom, I'm like, ice cream, pizza, whatever you want. Just move, back up.
Let's go.
Because, and as soon as we got about 25 more feet back up the trail, all the sound comes back again. Now, what was going to happen if we didn't? I don't know. But I have learned to listen to the intuition. And, I don't know what would have happened, but I've been alone and had this happen. And I stood and been quiet. And I started to get to where, like, I just wanted to go to sleep. And I'm like, hell no, I'm out of there. And you just smack yourself and you just, because you're getting lulled. You're getting lulled, Bri.
That's
what
big
I mean?
tell. Yeah, 100%.
The lulling, man.
Pallades, I love his work. He's great. The Missing 411. I think this has to do with a lot of creatures that can come interdimensional and then into physical being, not necessarily Sasquatch or Dogman. I think there are plenty of entities on the planet Earth and within and with outside of it and interdimensionally that are here, have been here for millions, if not more years, and they come in, they open up, like, ooh, food, pull them in.
Yep, that's it.
Do what they do, and they eat them, and then they deposit them elsewhere.
I have to tell you, I'm a big believer in the whole Eisenhower thing with the whole, sure, you can take some like dolphins, just don't take too many, experiment on them as you want, because it's too picky. It's too picky. You've got the blood types, you've got the different, the descent, all different. And I do believe a lot of it's portals too, because there's been places I've walked into that just felt wrong, and it's crazy.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. So when we went to Gettysburg, first time ever, I took the family there. We're through the fields, and they went to sleep early. So I don't sleep very well. I'm like Steve. I'm up a long time. Like I'll be up to 2-3 in the morning before I get to bed and get up early, whatever. I went out. I went to the store. I went to go get some cigarettes and something to drink. As far as like, I don't really. Although my shirt says whiskey helps, it does. 99% of the time, I'm not drinking.
And we don't drink when we do paranormal investigations. No. Brian and I don't know.
Yeah, I went into Gettysburg, and I went to the battlefield. I'm driving through it because it's at night, and I forgot who I was talking to. I don't know if it was Bill Helm, and he said you should go over to these areas. Like you could just park on the road. Well, so I started doing that, and because I was there for a couple of days, more than longer than you, and I pulled up. I forgot what road it was. It was kind of near. It was near one of the big battlefields. There was like an old miniature golf course near it. I forgot what road it was, and I pulled off to the side, and I'm kind of got out of the car, shut the car off, so it's pitch black now. So I'm good. I'm like, okay. I adjust my eyes. And you hear the crickets and stuff, and I start walking up, and I can see out to the field, okay? And now, Pennsylvania has a ton of deer. Don't get me wrong. I know what deer look like in the dark. They're pretty impressive, and they're big, but I definitely saw something, and I forgot. I'm going to try to find it on the map for you. I just kind of started getting that, like, feeling in the arms going up. My spidey senses kicking in, and I'm like, okay, this could be because of so many souls lost here. I'm picking up on this or that, right? Okay, no problem. And then I get to this point where I kind of can see through, and you can see the clearing in the field, and you can see the big space. Probably someone's farm. And lo and behold, I see something lumbering across that field, black, big. It stops. Now, it kind of, I don't know, it could have been a bear. I don't know. I don't recall anything about bears in that neck of the woods at that point. It's a little bit city-ish. But after I saw that thing moving, I was like, did something just move? And I'm looking a little bit longer, waiting. Because they got all the time in the world. The next thing you know, you see this thing moving, and you're like, yeah, something's moving there. What's that?
Jeez.
And then, you can see off in the distance something that looks like you can see the points. It was bright enough where the moon was lighting it up.
That's what that one video with the pointy ears was getting, and even the one that it showed where it looks like it's lumbering, and you were saying something about it's on its knees kind of thing, where it's going on its, and we've got about like 20 people in here that weren't here before, so if you guys don't mind, I'm going to show that video again, because there's a couple of things in the beginning. It's the footprint in the snow, how big it is compared to the person's foot. Also, is it the a pseudonym would know this. The Neberu, the dog head in Egypt.
Anubis.
Nubius. That's it. Anubis.
The god of the dead of the underworld.
Right. And there's a story, I'm sure you've heard it, Brian. I don't know if the chat has, where this lady was picking up some kind of artifact somewhere, and she's in her house, and she's, in her bedroom, and her bedroom door is open. And she just sees this thing appear in her doorway. And she didn't know at the time because she had never seen any of the Egyptian pictures. And in here I put one for this reason.
Yeah.
And it had the man's body, and the head of a dog, a long snout dog. And it spoke to her telepathically, those things you took today, you must put them back. And she had told no one. There you go, Sue. Thank you. And, and she had told no one that she got these artifacts. So if it's cool with the chat, I'm going to show that little bit of video again, the one that I put together for tonight, the pictures. I want you to take a good look at the eyes. And the first picture is looks more like a werewolf. And, we'll let Bryan tell you the difference here. But the other one at the end, the very end, seems to be more of a Rugarous. And the Dogman is the one with the pointy ears. So let's take a look at this and go ahead and commentary at will throughout this, Bryan. The eyes, man.
Sure. No problem. So, that's the original French werewolf. That is Anubis right there. No,
okay.
That's
the
footprint
fight.
for him. Dogman and Bigfoot have fought. This is another one that goes along with the Dogman and Rugarous. Look at the, this is the same
the
thing
eyes
here.
And the long teeth.
Yes.
Right.
Or we'll go Skinwalker, and we'll talk about that too if you want.
Oh, Skinwalker, yeah. That's another thing I was warned about is the Skinwalker.
You don't want to play with those.
You don't play with those. I promise you guys.
No.
All right, now
this
here
is
we
the
are.
Video.
Look at the ears.
Yep.
So
that
the
was
arms,
that
huge.
was a semi-bluff charge initially. And about the size of a human man, about 5 to 6 feet at least, on all fours.
It almost looks like a baby.
Yeah,
like a young. It's not a baby. Okay. Now here comes this one, chat. This one creeps me out so bad. Look at the face, and he says it is not a bear with mange. Look at this face.
Not a bear.
Oh,
that's not a bear.
Oh.
That could be
Laura,
a
this will bring you nightmares, Laura, for sure.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, that one I'm not too. Another one I don't want to meet in person.
Right.
That's hungry, and it looks like it's been through a lot.
It's been through some heavy shit, man. And it's just so creepy, looking around, looking for food, looking for foraging, it's another thing. I feel, again, I know Dogman's hard to feel sorry for a dogman, but it's nature. I feel sorry for the raccoon out here. I make everything gets a sandwich, I'll have to ask you before this is over, if I was to make a sandwich for a dogman, what would it be? Because just in case, I'm like, stay here, I'll make you a sandwich.
Well, I don't know.
Look at his face.
Give him peanut butter.
Look at this. Look at the ears. Oh my God, the face and the ears. He's scarred up bad. That thing has been through some fights. And there's a Rugarous. Yep. So there you go, guys. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. If that doesn't give you nightmares, when you go out to get the garbage can or you hear something outside in the back. Now listen, right behind me, 2 feet behind me is a plate glass, nothing but doors. There's nothing but glass, and about 3 feet, and then the nature preserve. So I've got all kind of stuff coming in every time I turn on the back light, I'm thinking, what am I going to see? And I hesitate every time because there's a hesitation when you do the switch for it to come, the light to come on, and I just wait, and one day I'm gonna have something. Just I know it. I've seen red eyes. I've seen red eyes in the woods.
You need a claymore in the backyard.
Well, I have one. I have several. I know the chat thinks that's a joke, but Brian's seen. But the thing is this, is I put out a telepathic thing. You don't start none, won't be none. You know what I mean? But I'd love to talk about the pack that we talked about, the way the pack fights. Now, if you think about how wolves fight, right, guys? How they work together. Everybody has a way that they, their specialty that they do in this pack. And they'll run you and they'll move you the way they want you moved. And that's also a big part in the book, right, Brian? Where I talk
100%.
about how it runs something where it wants it to go, the prey. And it runs that prey. So also the thinking, when you told me about they'll get on top of the house and scratch the window.
Yep.
Because it wants you to come outside. Talk about that.
Okay, so when we
so creepy.
First of all, when I first got introduced to Dogmen, it was through my buddy Al. I didn't want to believe it. Like, come on, werewolves, let's go. We've gone through that other area. But I started doing the research, started talking to people that have experience and had encounters. I've taught people that I'll just say work for our military that are tasked with taking care of things, and they said you'd be surprised at what you find. They're not going to tell you any more than that, So it all points lead to a real life type of cryptid and creature. So one of the groups in the Hudson Valley is Bigfoot of the Hudson Valley Researchers. Great group of people. Gail Beatty runs it, and I kind of, through my research, she does a lot of stuff for the kids in the local area in upstate New York, shows them Bigfoot, footprints and what have you. And one of the photos, there was a dog man in the woods watching these kids sitting there while they're doing someone caught it, and I'm like, lady, that's a dog man. So we set up a meeting, and Al and I drove up to her house. Now, she lives in an area, it's kind of like a wilderness area, right near a preserve. And she's got a nice frontage of property with like a river like there where she does fishing from there. So she sells fishing supplies, and you can go out and fish, and there's some really great fishing taking place there. And on her house if you go to her house, there's a house portion of it, and then in the back is a big long barn type of a garage, old school wooden barn garage. She keeps her store back there, and she makes a parking lot out of it in front of it. And she has a bell on that door that rings. When you ring that bell to let her know she's in the house, it rings in the back. And in the front of the house is a typical doorbell. But it's what they did was they took the front porch and they converted it into an enclosed area. And she hangs out there all the time. So she started showing us around, and invited us in the house, and she said, well, look at this. So you can see where there's some footprints on the ground over by that area. And she sleeps in that area. And I didn't know that at the time, but she slept, there's a bed there. And then in the center, of course, is that entranceway to get into that, to the house, which is now the covered porch. She goes, look, and I found a print there. And the print was upside down. So the palm was up top, and the long fingers, it was extremely long fingers, probably twice as the length of mine. And at the end, yes, we're talking Al Santoriga.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are, Laura.
That's my partner in crime, Lauren. Yeah.
Sweet Al.
At the end of that, there was like it looked like there was, it's kind of hard to explain, but if you ever had a nail and it curled around to make like a point or whatever, it was a little bit of a line. So we knew it was a nail. And they tried to figure out what was it doing. It was touching my door. I said, lady, I said, this thing wasn't touching your door like this. It was on your roof. That was it peeking over and leaning in to get a better view and put its fingerprints on there. But what was very interesting was she was telling me that night when, the next day when she discovered all this, but that night or early morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, she hears the doorbell for the store ring, right? Goes ding, and then the front door, dong, ding, dong,
dong.
She hears the jiggling of the handles, and she's like, no, she's a self-sufficient lady. She sleeps right next to her bed is a loaded shotgun, no safety on it. And she just knew at that point, she said, something came over me and said, you need to just stay inside, do not answer. Mm-hmm. But when she got out the next day, she found the prints. Yep. It's always 3 a.m.
It's always 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It's so true. But see, that's also, like I said, Bryan and I talked a lot before I wrote this book because I wanted it to be right, and I wanted to do it justice, and I wanted to show the connections of everything. From the Native Americans to the people who lived on the mountain all the time, trying to protect and preserve that nature, and from the sour soil where nobody's supposed to go, all that kind of stuff. And I talked to Bryan about this and said, and Kat's here. Hi, Kat Ward from Paranormal Heart Podcast. That is a great podcast, by the way.
Yes,
and she just did one with Jill Shelley, which is terrific because she had the Boyd House and stuff. And it was just a wonderful podcast. Get over there and follow Kat over on Paranormal Heart Podcast too if you like this kind of stuff. She does a great job. She's also a wonderful I don't know what she calls herself, sensitive, empath, medium. She's like us. We're all rolled up into one kind of thing.
She's got gifts.
Fantastic. Kat's got gifts. So for everybody in the chat, yay! I'm joking. You get a car.
Yes.
You get a
you
car.
Get a new car. You get a car.
You get a car. But anyway, hey,
Thanks,
Kat, thanks for stopping in. And also thanks to Jackie and Sue and Uncommon Belief and a lot of the other mods for dropping all your links in the chat. Bryan, he does Nobo Boomy podcast. I've got it underneath here, and you're going to hear a lot of these wonderful stories on there. And yes, it's with Al, and a lot of them. So it's fantastic. But that's it. It's how they work in the pack. They wanted her to come out. They wanted her to come out of the house, and they'll work as a pack, as you've got your alpha, of course, and then you've got your others. But it's very interesting to me. How nature works, and everybody's just trying to survive. We are, they are, and I feel bad, when I hear a mountain lion comes down and grabs somebody out of the, development. But I also feel bad that the bobcat or the panther or whatever had to come that far to get food because we've done it. We've done that, which is why I always, feed everybody out here. I've got everything from raccoons to God know what I'm feeding now. Because I've got what I call a giving tree. And I go out there and I'll put food on the tree stump that's out into the woods a little bit. It's like, here's for and every morning it's gone, of course. Right. And, and if I don't do that, my bird feeders are unhooked, unlatched, dumped out. And then I'll see like raccoon poop that looks like, some kind of wild new candy bar that's come out covered in bird seed, because they're just going to keep eating. So, Laura Stevens asking it's right here. It's Nobo Boomy podcast.
Right. And
where do they find that?
I also posted. If you go to podbean.com,
there you go.
You'll probably find it more so under Inside the Goblin Universe.
There you go.
And I do that Inside the Goblin Universe podcast with Ron the Crypto Guru Murphy. He's a friend of mine. He's out of PA. Okay. He also researches. But I do a show myself called Nobo Boomy, which nobody can pronounce, but it stands for Nobody But Me. And it's not just paranormal stuff. We do music. We do art. I try to bring people that are very interesting and important or worth your while and entertaining stuff. Trust me. I can make fun on an investigation, have a joke too, even though I'm getting the crap scared out of me. So that's that. But and we're on. It's the same thing. Inside the Goblin Universe on YouTube is the channel, and you'll find Nobo Boomy on there too. And I have, everything there. We're doing more live streaming now. We're going to be doing some stuff too soon. But what I was going to say is that these Dogmen, Dogmen itself. I'm not going to talk about the Rugarous just yet. They are very smart, intelligent, cunning. I think They want you to come out, and when you come out, that's when they will do what they do. It's very interesting, though. They will spy on you in your home, and they can, without even thinking about it, just grab you and pull you through a window. But for some reason, they don't. It's very vampire-like.
It is.
What's the rule or law taking place where it says, look, yeah, we know you could rip the door off the hinge, okay?
Right.
But unless you have a reason, I think, or you're invited, or whatever, you're not allowed to come into that house like a vampire. Here's the difference, though. There was a gentleman, and I'm trying to remember what state it was in. I want to say it was in the Midwest, but I'm thinking PA, but I'm also thinking Midwest. He was in the woods with hunting or doing his hunting trip, a couple hundred miles in the woods, like 500 miles in. And he actually come across one of these dogmen. And of course he was scared out of his wits. He's got a 308, or a 30-06, and he's hunting for buck or whatever the hell it is. And what he did was he took shots at it. He shot the hell out of it, to get out. And he drove home. And he thought he killed it. He just wanted to get out of there. He just, the protection thing. Well, the dogmen don't like when you shoot them. And usually if you have one facing you, like a 12 o'clock position, be on the lookout, because they're either going to be on your 3 o'clock, your 9 o'clock, or your 6. That's what you were talking about before. You'll be distracted by what's in front of you, kind of like what's going on today in the world. Wink, wink.
Yes. Yep.
And then they'll come around from behind you, and then you're done. Okay? So
you're going to get flanked.
Right. He goes and does this, and takes off, goes back home, and he tells a couple people about it, like what took place, and there was this weird creature, he killed it, I was going to go back and get the body, but it really freaked me out. Well, he lived about 500 miles away. These dogmen tracked his ass down. They went into his house. They didn't wait for an approval, because they had the reason behind it to go through it, and they tore that shit up, pardon the expression, to shreds. It looked like a murder crime scene. And it was only until people that were recounting the story he told them only days earlier made the connection. Some of the people that were researching it, they made the connection earlier. It was weird. Yeah, someone said, I'm not answering the back door. All these cryptids, including Bigfoot, they like to watch human beings. They spy on them. They're curious about what they're doing. They love, because the female of our species, every species, goes through a monthly cycle. They can smell it, and and if you're in a rutting age, like a young Turk, you may get that may
pheromones.
The pheromones make you drive you crazy. Look at Friday and Saturday nights at most clubs before all this stuff. So it's the same thing, the same principle, the idea of mating. But for some reason, I don't think these are the nicest creatures on the planet. Some people saying, oh, well, I've gotten away, or I had one smile at me. I'm like, look, you're talking about
smile.
An 8 to 15 foot tall physical werewolf with razor blades and fangs.
Right.
And
there he goes. Razor blades and fangs. Ooh. Okay. Woo. Dogman. He's right, though. He'll be back here in like a tick. He's coming out of New York, and I'm sure the signal there is just so. Here he goes. Okay.
I feel Al now. I feel like Al because I got kicked out twice. I'm gonna figure out a better way to do this. I'm getting kicked out big time. But
it's okay.
I don't think that they're
not nice beings.
Yeah,
they're just trying to survive, Bri. I mean, like that's kind of like I said. I wanted to get in the head of the Dogman a little bit. Like that was a creepy place to walk around. I promise you. But again, they only really attacked for the food they needed, and they tried to lay low because they learned over time. Just like I said, just like the raccoons. I've watched raccoons do door latches. I've watched raccoons unhook garbage cans. They've learned this over time. They've had to adapt and overcome. And I think that's why dogmen stay down, because they know it means the death of the whole the whole tribe, the whole pack.
Yeah, I think what's taking. Well, first of all, they're really smart, and I think they understand what they look like and how they scare the hell out of people, and I think they partially get off from that fear. There are other entities in the metaphysical world, spirit world, paranormal world, that use fear, just like Monsters Inc., to recharge their batteries. That's their food source. Hat Man, the dark shadows that are in your house where you feel like you can't move, they are living from your fear. The minute you say get the hell out, they lose their meal because you're not fearful.
You're not fear. Don't feed them.
Yeah, I think they like to. It's kind of like, and it's no disrespect to people who are bikers, but I have a friend that looks like he's going to kill you, but he's the nicest guy on the planet. He has a certain look about him. Sometimes people get off on that. Some of them do get off on that. And as a pack, the younger ones tend to cause all the mayhem and trouble. They hang out the cemeteries. They dig up, there's rumor that they may be digging up fresh burials to get a little taste of something. Because no one else is going to, who else is going to be there after the service over? Whoever maintains the cemetery is going to, what the hell happened here? Cover it up and all good, right? And
call it grave robbing or some kind of thing like that. But it's very possible.
Yeah,
if they can rip a tree that size out, turn it upside down, and hang it in other trees to make that. What do you call it? A tree.
A tree umbrella.
Okay.
It looked like an umbrella.
If they can do that, they could reach through your window like Bri says and grab you right out. But for some reason they don't, that we know of. I mean, I've seen, like Beast of Bray Road, and I've seen the different things. I watched one, I think it was Boggy Creek or something when I was a kid, and it was in a cabin, and they're just sitting there watching TV, having, that weekend getaway, and the next thing you know, there's a Bigfoot out there, and, he does reach through, and grab him through the window. I don't think that was true, because I said, a lot of them just want to be camouflaged in the back because they don't want to be discovered and have their stuff uprooted, Bigfoot wise.
For example, I looked at those photos that you showed on the video as photographs. I must have looked at them a couple hundred times. Big screen, little screen, the whole thing. I go pixel by pixel because I get the evidence first. Then we looked at it on a 75-inch TV set. And sometimes when you overlook something or you keep looking at something, it's like editing your own paper in school. You're never going to catch it. Someone else caught that. Right. And then I went back and I'm like, holy crap. So
there they are.
Basically, if you just looked at that photo, you never would have thought of pinching, zooming in, or looking a little bit deeper. They blend in perfectly. They're like, what are these things doing where we live? It would be the same thing
if, the intruders.
Like you're in your house, and something comes to you. So,
right.
That's the play here. But that's the Dogman side of it. I'm hearing some better encounters of Dogmen where they're not vicious. They go about their business. They're curious about the individuals, but they're maintaining the distance.
Okay.
The ones that get crazy are when people do something stupid, or they don't heed the warning, or they continue to go into the woods. There's a couple of cases now in. There's something that took place, I think it was in Kentucky or Tennessee, one of the two. It was Kentucky. Woman was mauled to death by dogs. No. No. And they're trying to pin it on another guy who was they called themselves the Dogman. But this woman was shredded. They even know that they thought at one point it was a pit bull, then it was like a bear. They don't know. Some people don't even know what the hell ripped her apart. But this is an opportune moment or crime. That they commit. And it's a crime for us, but for them it's survival, I'll just say.
Right.
When you get into, when you said Eisenhower with the aliens and stuff, yes, some aliens do have a taste for human flesh. They like it, and they like it a lot. And what you don't hear about too often is you'll hear about cattle mutilations, but there's a sure hell lot of human mutilations that have taken place. It's the same thing. No blood, the eyes are missing, the organs, like what the hell happened? It's the same thing. And that's because in general, most of the grays and the little grays, there's little, medium, and taller grays. The little grays are are drones for the most part. They're clones. They're worker bees, and they get a taste of something, and when they eat, they don't eat through the mouth. They actually rub the food on their body, and it gets absorbed through their skin.
Absorbed into their skin.
Yeah.
I've heard that. That's
right.
crazy,
So,
man.
Yeah,
but it's true.
Works. Yeah,
it's true, because when you talk about the like I said, like the missing 401 and the clusters, and you start talking about where they happen, and not down the middle, if you've ever seen the map of the clusters, and then you start thinking, well, I've said it a million times here. It's like, when you've got the marine biologists and are out grabbing dolphins out of the ocean, and they tag them and they test them and they put them through all the things and they let them go again. In some cases, these people are let go. And then some cases, they're just gone, and you hear this like wind, and it sounds like they're being pulled up, And in other cases, they're walking 2-3 feet in front of somebody, boom, gone. Or the one behind them's gone, and they can hear them, but they can't see them. Those blow my mind. Now you're in something else. You're in totally another portal or something else. And all the things that we hear from Skinwalker Ranch. Now, Skinwalker Ranch is called Skinwalker Ranch because of skinwalkers. And there's been multiple things where it's just seemed like they said the horizon or the sky just opened up like a zipper. And then this thing would step out of this hole, very much looked like a Dogman, I think, and black, and and just stepped out, looked around, and took off and ran up to the mountains. I mean, multiple. There's these, the account where on Skinwalker Ranch they saw a man, 2 men standing, talking, man's body, dog head, smoking cigarettes, having a conversation. Just all these different things. And this has happened. It's not just Skinwalker Ranch. It's happened all over the place. And it's happened way, way back. And these are the stories I would hear about, there are certain things that exist that when you speak of them, they hear you. They connect into that energy, and you don't talk about them. So, then you'd ask, how can I not talk about them if I don't know what they are? You've got to tell me what's going on here. And that's when I heard the legend of what we think of now as the Skinwalker. It's basically, from what we've heard, it's
Navajo.
And it's more of a ritual to obtain power, to obtain abilities. But the things that you have to do are so evil to get to that point. And then there's this point of no return. And then you can shape shift. Now, shapeshifters and skinwalkers, two different things. But that's what we were told. And you don't want to come in contact with that kind of evil.
You don't even want to mention the name. You don't want to mention the name. So basically what happens is you have medicine men, and then you have witch doctors. And a witch doctor in this case is the opposite of a medicine. Medicine man is a white medicine type of individual. Right. Touch of the spiritual world, the spiritual leader, whatever. When medicine men or individuals seeking to obtain this power, they turn their back on the good, and they start doing. We're talking about killing of immediate family members, and then having sexual relations with the corpse multiple times, then consuming.
Usually eating the heart.
Yeah, it's and there's so much more that goes along with it, and by doing that, you in turn are being receive the gift or the abilities to be a skinwalker. But the problem with that is, yes, you can transform usually into a wolf or a coyote or some kind of animal, but it's almost any animal. But forever, you will have this never-ending quest and thirst for human flesh. Right. And
insatiable.
It will never be, insatiable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we were told. And, there were people... Again, I believe the whole werewolf, the lichen, is different as well. Yes. So it's very odd that you've got all these different things that people keep, like we said in the beginning of this show, trying to put in the same a category in the same, file in the file cabinet, and they're all separate. And they all have distinct abilities and distinct characteristics, and
Right.
and it's really amazing when you start digging into this,
Right.
without a doubt.
Something of interest for you, to give you an idea. The psychic for our group is out in Arkansas. She has native blood in her as well.
Okay.
And when before we went, not to the cemetery, but when we went to the main facility, a year or two before the other one, we're hanging out up in Rockland County, New York. And one of the guys there tells us about, when we finished doing this investigation of Letchworth Village, we should come back here because he was in the Air Force, and they got these Air Force tunnels in Rockland and nuclear missile sites. And we can go in them and we can explore them. They're probably going to be pretty interesting. Kind of like this urban type of, discovery. And we thought about it like, yeah, that'd be pretty interesting, being some of these old things that are no longer being used. So after we go through our investigation, that, on the way home, my buddy Al gets a call from our psychic. She goes, no, it was the next day. She goes, where the hell are you going? What are you doing? And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, where are you going? And he goes, I'm not going anyplace. He goes, what tunnels? You're not going into those tunnels. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you were going to go into tunnels. So he goes, yeah, we were talking about doing. He goes, no, you're not going to go into tunnels. And I'll tell you why. She got up. She woke up at like 2 a.m. She was in the tunnel.
Oh, wow.
He said, it's pitch black. And she came face to face with something who scared the hell out of her and told her, don't ever come here. You never come to this place ever again. She got up after that dream, went out of her house, and salted her entire property.
I don't blame her.
Okay?
I don't blame her.
She goes, I've never seen this thing. It had this horns and whatever. So I sent her a picture of a Wendigo.
Okay.
Skinwalker went same thing almost. Very similar. She goes, oh my God, what? That was it. She goes, yeah. And that is the same type of spirit dweller that works in that same capacity as a skinwalker. So it was pretty interesting that we're here, she's in Arkansas, and she's getting that. They knew.
Right. Well, you and I both know.
It.
How many times have we gone on situations where somebody's got a problem in their house, and this kind of evil, chat, knows you're coming when you...
Oh, yeah.
The minute you say you're going, it knows you're coming and will torment you, break your car down, cause all kind of issues so you can't show up, come and visit you at your bedside and tell you don't go, you can't help them, that kind of thing. And I think that's very similar to something like that. And the chat here is talking a lot about, where they live. And they live by the woods and stuff like that. Well, the thing is, it's like I said, so do I. If you haven't seen them yet, and they know you, if they're there, they know you're there, and they know what type of person you are. They've got you pegged, And I think they have. Now we're talking about Dogmen. I don't know about the Rugarous. I think that's more. I've heard things from it. Like they say the legend is that, way back there was a tribe of cannibals that went off and became very recluse, and eventually lost their humanity and became this creature.
Right.
That's one. There's another one where it could be a bloodline curse where, somebody of your ancestry did something and it's going to follow the bloodline all the way through. Shadow people, very much the same way in, Hat Man, stuff like that. Very much the same. But, that's just it. They've got you pegged. And like I said, when I was writing Strange Case of Cabin 22, this is the person I went to for the stuff. And, I talked to a couple other people, but when you really wanted to get down to the personality of these creatures and the Bigfoot, and also bringing in Native American and what are the people around the mountain doing, how are they coexisting with these things? And in the book, it was the stuff that was already there, and then they had this influx of the new stuff because of what Bryan was saying before, like the wildfires. And in my case, it was Katrina that happened in Louisiana and moved everything up survive. So since we're talking about that, now Bryan is in actually both of my books, and thank you again, Jackie, for posting the book, We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Afterlife, and Bryan is in a big chapter of that. Because he helped me with a family member. You know that. I got your permission. I said, can I? He said, just don't make me look stupid. And I said, no, I promise
make myself
you.
Look stupid.
It was all praise. It was all praise. But the thing is he's a big part of both my books. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had that insight on, the things we were talking tonight. So I think it made the book and the story. And again, the story in the live watch party, it's going to start tomorrow night. I do Monday Madness with Steve Stockton, my dear friend also, and Bryan knows him as well. And we're going to do the prequel during that show, which is about 10 minutes. It's The Cabin. And then we're doing, after the madness, we're going to listen to the first chapter, part 1. And I'm going to do that with you guys. And we're going to do some fun stuff along the way. And I've got some other things I put together for the chat and everything. But I have this little video here. So if anybody's got to pee, you got about 2 minutes. But we're going to watch that because it's just an introduction for the book and the live watch party. And Bri loves my vids, so we're going to
I'm going to go grab a drink if it's all right with you.
You will go ahead, honey. You've seen this one, but for the people who haven't seen it, you go ahead, sweetheart. Okay? Let me see if I can catch it here. And here we go. This is for you guys. And there you go. So,
awesome.
So we are going to listen to that book. It's like I said, the prequel is about 20 minutes. We'll listen to that during Monday Madness, and then after that, we'll do the first chapter. The first chapter is about 45 minutes to an hour, but it's something we can all do together to escape the craziness and think about it all week. We can talk about it. And for part 6, I think what I'm going to do is anybody wants to volunteer to have a couple people come in from the chat to listen and commentate throughout, talk about the characters and what you got from it. And we're also doing kind of a live edit. So if I say to put on blue sneakers and he winds up with red and I miss that, tell me about it, and that'll be helpful. And I thought, what else could I do? And last time we were together, chat was in here, and somebody, I think it was Daniel, I don't think Daniel's here tonight, but I could be wrong, kept mentioning bacon. So I thought, wouldn't it be great for the chat if you guys have any Halloween recipes you want to share in the chat? Now think, if you make, poison apples, like candy apples that are done in, like a black goo, or ghost apples dipped in vanilla for the kids and little ghost eyes, whatever you make at Halloween, let's share that in the chat. And, that's something that you can, participate in. But I did one for you guys. Let me see if I can share this. Give me just a second. Here we go. Here's another one, this quick video. But I think this is going to get eyeball cake pops. Oh, that's a good idea. So I don't know for young kids, because my book does have some gore in it. It's about, Dogmen, Rugarous, and, real things happen. I don't use too much foul language, but, when something happens, people do exclaim certain things. But, so, at least we can share this together. We're going to usher in Halloween together. We're going to try to get rid of some of the madness in the world outside, get into this world of the strange cabin of 22 and enjoy it together. It's the only thing I can think of to do to give you guys something we can all share up into Halloween, and let's just keep celebrating. The world's mad anyway. We might as well go mad with it. So here's another little video. This is my first Halloween treat for my wonderful chat, and you're gonna drool on this one, guaranteed. Here we go. I know. Yum. Popcorn and bacon.
That's a great connection.
How cool is that? That's my first. Halloween. Oh, I do too. I mean, my whole house is Halloween all the time. I wish you could see all this stuff. I got candles going and skulls everywhere, But that's it. Bacon caramel popcorn, guys. So I'm going to have mine in my spider bowl. And anybody else that wants to try the bacon popcorn, all of the actual recipe and videos of real people doing the cooking, not me, will be in the description so you can do. But how cool is that? Thanks, Jose, and everybody's loving it. Aunt Edna said she's going to try it. So I just thought it'd be kind of neat to bring us all together. It's like, who's eating their bacon caramel popcorn? I've got another one tomorrow night. I got a nice drink for y'all, nice Halloween treat drink. And for tomorrow night, I've got that video for you. So anybody that wants to put their stuff in here, I've seen pumpkin brownies coming up, an eyeball, cake pops and stuff. So great. And I'll have a couple things in there for the kids too. But like I said, some of this, I mean, if, there's like rats and, brains on the wall and, there's no sex, but there's some decent cussing. There's definitely blood. So there you go. You've been warned. But other than that, your kid better than I do. I was listening to stuff. Gosh, my son was watching Freddy at like 5 or 6. He couldn't get enough of it. So, but that's us. So Halloween together. And, thank you, Sir Bryan Bowden, for giving me all the tips and all the wonderful guidance to get. The book wouldn't be the same without you. And my life wouldn't be the same without you. I cherish your friendship and your knowledge.
Right here. Same here.
Oh, God, I love you so much. And tell us again where we can find you.
When I'm not in Facebook jail, I'll be on.
You're such a bad boy.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on just about every social media platform there is. You can private message me if you want to talk about stuff. You have a show you want me on, I'll talk about anything. My wife knows it. Al knows it. My kids know it, for Christ's sake. My podcast is. It's Inside the Dogman Universe, and it's on podbean.com or any podcatcher. We have videos on YouTube. If you go to Inside the Goblin Universe on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe. We had a lull because of this COVID stuff. I'm in the New York State UFO Project, New York State Sasquatch Organization, North American Dogman Project, New York State Chapter, and of course Bronxville Paranormal Society. So yeah, that's me. And I'm actually, if you're on Discovery Plus and you want to see a bigger version of me, I'm on Alien Invasion Hudson Valley right now on Discovery Plus. So Doc Skinner. So
that's amazing.
It's my pleasure to help you in any way, shape, or form. You're like a sister from a different mister, as they say. Love you to death. My kids love you.
I'm still not sure of that. I know my daddy, so.
Yeah.
My daddy got around a little bit,
Well,
but yeah,
who knows?
how fantastic! And it's gonna be. I hope you'll come along for the live Cabin 22 watch party and be in the chat, and maybe come help commentate on the sixth part with us, and we'll do that group together. Because right now we're all gonna stick together. I figure if we're eating some of the same things and sharing some of the stuff, maybe we can get some of that joy of Halloween back in it. Back in our lives, and just enjoy each other, and something different, Rats and brains. Now we're talking. Grandpa C says rats and brains. Now we're talking. I can definitely give you rats and brains. I'm telling you, in this book, there's Dead Children's Playground, a haunted cabin on a haunted mountain right next to sour soil. We'll learn what that's about. There's Native Americans, there's medicine men, there's shaman, there's moonshiners, and soul collectors. I mean, everything is here except the aliens. I forgot the aliens, but they were probably there just observing the whole thing.
That could be the what's the afterward or
the sequel.
Not the forward.
The sequel.
Great.
Yeah,
I can't wait for this.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's something we can do together, and I can't thank you guys enough for the 1,000 subs, and we're on our way, and we're headed in good directions, and I just love the time that we spend here, man, and I get to talk to great people like you, Bryan. Thank you so much for spending so much of your time, and thank the family for letting you go for a little bit. I appreciate that, and I thank you everybody in the chat, and be here tomorrow night. Steve and I will be talking. I think we're going to talk old ghost movies. Do you have any? What's your favorite ones to talk us out on this one?
Old ghost movies?
Think about it. Ghost movies. It's harder to find a good ghost movie that gets it right. I always bring up Abbott and Costello, The Time of Their Lives.
That's the one that...
I love it.
When you think of ghosts, I think of Abbott and Costello, and that specific one. Very few ghost movies, ghost stories.
That are good. That get it right, They
get it right and know what's going on well before their time.
Right. And that one goes back to 1938, and I found some other older ones too, and I'm going to do a couple little clips of them, suggest it, because when you leave here, you might be able to pull up one. I've got them a lot of these are free on YouTube, for Pete's sakes,
I'll tell you one that is pretty accurate is Poltergeist.
Yes.
And that's scary, and that's right now. I'm in the process of getting something built for me, and I'm worried about that.
Yes.
I'm like,
it's a shame you don't know a couple of good mediums that could walk through there and tell you whether or not to.
No, I've gotten that, but I'm always a little nervous about that. Doesn't matter.
I know. It's absolutely true. You just before you leave New York, I'm going to get you 50 pounds of salt.
That's not a problem.
Right. Yep. But that's it.
Everybody, do a salt scrub every once a week. Try salt scrubbing everybody once a week.
Absolutely.
And I can't thank you enough for having me on.
I
love it. I love being here. I love everybody that's in the chat. I love watching you and Steve. And
we got a smart chat, man. We got a smart chat. They know what's going on. Everybody's got, the things that they understand. And because they understand, what's in their wheelhouse, they know there's more. And they realize it's all connected. And we may not find any answers, but my God, the hunt is amazing to enjoy talking about all of this. And I thank you so much for, the pictures and everything and the story and allowing me to use your peace story for my book.
It's fine. I love it. Hey, I did it. I might as well use it.
It's amazing, right? It's one of Steve's favorites. So I love you. My love to the fam and my love to the chat. And don't forget, keep your feet under those covers and keep your closet doors shut, because there are things that go bump in the night. I love you all. Good night, everybody.